Welcome to Management 585, Management and Organizational Behavior. In this lesson, I will give you an overview of organizational behavior and what we will be studying throughout the semester. So let's just start off with a simple definition of organizational behavior. Organizational behavior can be considered a field of study that investigates the impact that individuals, groups, and structure have on behavior within organizations for the purpose of applying such knowledge toward improving an organization's effectiveness. That definition can be a mouthful, so what I'm going to do throughout the next few slides is break it down and show you what we'll be studying throughout the semester. So let's start with this first phrase of investigation of the impact that individuals, groups, and structure have on the behavior within organization. And specifically, let's start with this word investigate or investigates. What we mean here is that what we're going to do is take a systematic study of organizational behavior. So within our jobs, we make decisions all the time, and most of the time we make them on some type of gut feeling about what we should be doing in this situation. And we call it intuition. This intuition can be based upon what we've done in the past or what we've seen others do, but it's not really based on research. It's based on what we've seen done in our few situations. What we want to do in this class is take more of a scientific approach and look at evidence from scientific journal articles that can help us look at relationships and attempt to understand cause and effects. So what causes someone to be motivated on the job? What causes someone to have stress on the job? So we want to look at a systematic study of different topics within the organizational behavior literature. The next part of the definition is individuals, groups, and structure. And what we're really talking about here is levels of analysis. We will focus our attention on three levels of analysis, which is the individual level, or the person, that could be the manager or the employee. Then the group level, or how these individuals act within groups. And then finally the organizational level, how we act as an organization and set a culture for our particular organization. The final level that we want to look at of this definition is behavior. And what we're really talking about here is how do these individuals, groups, and structures impact the organization? So what impact do these individuals, groups, and structure have on our organization? If we want to look at it in some type of formula, we would say, what impact does X have on Y? So let's first start with the Y. What type of behavior are we talking about within the organizational behavior literature? One of the main things we'll study within OB is productivity, and it'll have many different definitions, but what we're really talking about here is performance, achievement of goals, and how goals are met. We really want to understand what causes an individual or an employee to be productive on the job. The next one we want to study is absenteeism, or what causes individuals to not report to work. We really want to study this because we have this happens quite a bit at work, and absenteeism is one of the main things we want to focus on. Similar to absenteeism is turnover, and what we're talking about here is voluntary and involuntary permanent withdrawal from the organization. So why do people leave the workplace? Why do people choose to go to a different job, or just decide to leave the job altogether even if they don't have a job lined up in place? So turnover and absenteeism. The next is deviant workplace behaviors. We consider these to be voluntary behaviors that violate significant organizational norms and thereby threatens the well-being of the organization and or any of its members. What causes people to steal at work? Why do we have so many cases of sexual harassment or racial discrimination or age discrimination? So we can look at a lot of deviant workplace behaviors and we want to be able to understand, explain, and perhaps even predict and persuade people not to perform these deviant workplace behaviors. On the flip side, we also care about citizenship behaviors. The formal definition here is discretionary behavior that is not part of an employee's formal job requirements, but that nevertheless promotes the effective functioning of the organization. An example of this is filling the coffee pot at work. I seriously doubt that your job has someone that is responsible for only filling the coffee pot or has that listed as one of their key job descriptions. Similarly, what happens when the copier goes out of paper or out of ink? Whose job is it to do that? Most of the time it isn't anyone's job. Even most administrative assistants don't have fill the coffee pot as part of their job description. These are things that we tend to do on the for the organization because we tend to care about the organization, or we see a need that's not necessarily part of our formal job structure, but we do it because we like the people that we work with, or we do it because we like the job as a whole. Another example is sometimes on the job you tend to have people that bake cakes or pass around cards for someone when they are either sick or having a birthday or something like that. Again, these are discretionary behaviors, things that aren't a part of your formal job description, but that we do it because it helps the organization out. How do we get people to do more of these? What causes individuals and employees to want to do these in the first place? Those are things we want to tackle within this particular class. And finally, job satisfaction. How do you feel about your job? What is your general attitude towards your job? Do you like your job? Do you have a positive feeling when someone mentions your organization or when you talk about your job? We want people to have high job satisfaction, and so we want to study that and see what causes people to have high job satisfaction. Surprisingly, what we find is that money is not necessarily the main motivator for people on the job. So we want to keep that in mind. Just because we pay you a lot of money to do your job doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have high job satisfaction. So what really does cause one to be satisfied and to enjoy their job? So now that we've looked at the dependent variables of what we want to be able to predict, what things cause us to have high job satisfaction or low employee turnover or low absenteeism? There are a lot of, going back to our levels of analysis, on the individual level side, we have things as like the person's personality or the manager's personality. We have emotional intelligence, workplace stress, emotions, what motivates you, different motivation theories. So we want to look at a lot of those from an individual level. From the group level, we want to look at work teams, power, conflict, communication, and other topics that demonstrate the behaviors of people when they are working together in groups. And then finally, from the organizational level, what impact does an organization's culture or organization change have on the employee and these dependent variables that we mentioned earlier? So again, going back to our definition, we want to provide in this class an overview of a systematic study of how these particular individual and group and structure types of topics have on behavior within organizations.